And you know what? Do you want to share your screen?
Yes,
And
I do.
then we can.
No, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's see, window.
Hey, everybody, we're just getting squared away here, so settle in.
How do I share my screen?
Hang on, maybe I have to change presenters. Hold one moment, please. Technical difficulties with the user interface.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, we're just getting squared away, settle in. We're going to give everybody a couple minutes.
There we go. I have to quit and get back in. Be right back.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, well, we wait for Susan to come back and we wait for everybody else to show up. I'm going to tread water for a minute or two. Welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's going to happen. So Susan's going to pop back in. We're going to walk you through the data. And then we're recording this, of course. And over the weekend, I will build out a landing page with the recording and the executive summary that outlines in writing what we're going to talk through and some other things for you. And then I will email all of you with a link to that. So you will have that as well. Once Susan gets back, which I think she's back now. Yep. Once Susan gets back, then there she is. We will get started in a minute, but tell you a little bit about the study and our past studies, all of that sort of thing. In the meantime, Susan's going to be doing most of the talking today. I will add some color commentary in terms of sort of from the agency perspective, but my big job is going to be watching the question box. So as we are showing you this data, do I have to change presenters to you again, Susan? Do you think?
Yes, you do. That's what I was waiting for you to stop talking.
Sorry. Yeah,
that's okay.
That's going to be a long wait. Okay.
You and me both.
Do you have it now? Yes?
Yeah, hold on.
Okay. Anyway, my job is to watch the question box as we are talking and sharing data. Please don't feel like you have to wait until the end to ask questions. Just right in the moment, feel free to ask a question and we'll go from there. I'm going to tread water for another minute or two and just let other folks get here, and then we are going to get started. So anybody has any questions before we've started? Probably not about the data because you haven't seen it, but if you have any questions, feel free to fire away.
And happy Friday.
And happy Friday. I have not had any coffee today, so it's not kicked off to be a normal Friday for me.
Why have you not had any coffee?
Because I had my first coaching call at 7 in the freaking morning. And so I got up, you know, I know all of you don't need to hear this, but we're just killing time for a minute. You know, I'm a boy, so I can shower and be ready to go in 15 minutes. So I got up at, 6:45 and then I had to get on the call and then I went back-to-back calls. And so I just haven't had a chance to get anywhere near the coffee maker yet, but it's fine.
You don't want to know what time I got up this morning because you and I are opposites.
No, yeah, right. I was up till 2, so.
Yeah. I was not.
Well, you were up at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, barely.
Barely, right.
Barely yesterday.
That's funny. All right, it's 3, almost 4 minutes after, so let's get started. Everybody, thank you very much. If we have not met before, I'm Drew McClellan. I own Agency Management Institute. My partner in crime, Susan Beyer, of course, owns Audience Audit. And we have done this work for many years. We both serve agencies in different ways. And many years ago, we came together and realized that it would be beneficial to both of our audiences and to agency owners in general if we got smarter about what clients are thinking. And so we began the Agency Edge Research Series, gosh, back in like, what, 2014?
2014 was our first one, yep.
Yeah, and so every year we do this. Now, for the last several years, we always unveil the new research data at Content Marketing World, which is great fun for us. And so, and then we hold a couple webinars like this to walk folks through it. So some of you may have seen this originally or bits of pieces of it, the presentation at Content Marketing World. Others of you may have seen it from either a mailing from Susan or our e-newsletter. So however you got to us, welcome, glad you're here. Let's jump into the data, Susan, and then again, everybody feel free to fire questions into the question box, not into the chat box, but into the question box as you have them. That would be great. Okay, let's do it.
Sounds good. So this year, our study, last year we really looked at what was happening with COVID and the impact of COVID on agency clients and how they were sort of assessing their agency relationships at the time. This year, we really wanted to look at what was happening during the economic boom, like what clients were experiencing and how they were thinking about their marketing. We had over 1,200 agency clients across the US participate this year, which is our biggest study ever. And the result of that is a very high level of confidence in the results that you are going to see, plus or minus 2.7 percentage points at 95% confidence level. This research is very solid. So as you are thinking about your agency clients, we go through this, this is very reliable data. So my suspicion is that you will probably be able to think about agencies that look like these in your current client roster or in your experience.
Yeah, just correction, not agencies, clients.
Agency clients,
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to start with the segmentation. And if you've watched our research before, you know that we focus on attitudinal segmentation. We not only are looking at things like what industry are folks in or how big their marketing team is in-house, but we're really focusing on what's going on in their heads, how they're thinking about the situation they find themselves in today, their marketing activities, and their relationships with agencies. We do not predetermine these buckets. They come from ratings that are provided by the respondents in the survey. So we don't know how many buckets we're going to find, and we don't know what is going to define them. So it's sort of like Christmas when we finish this analysis. But we're going to look at groups of people who are joined together because they are connected by a set of attitudes that they hold, that they agree with or disagree with in common. And this year, as we have before, we found 3 segments, but this year they're different. And as you can see, they're not as evenly distributed as we've seen in some of the years past. You'll always see them in these colors as we go through the visualization, but we have committed at 25%, concerned at 42%, and close at 33%. And we're going to explain what all of those are starting now.
Okay.
So this is our committed segment. This is 25% of those 1,247 respondents. And y'all are going to like these folks. These are sort of dream clients in a lot of ways. They value agencies. They believe that good agencies are worth the cost, and that better agencies cost more, and that's fine. They are looking for agencies that are true experts in their space, and they say they're worth spending more for those. They have no problem working virtually with agencies. This was a new question that we were asking this year and in the last study. Marketing is a top priority for them. They believe that working with agencies makes things less complicated for them. They are happy to have their agencies bring in specialized partners for specific work that needs to be done. If they have their druthers, they'll work with one agency that's pretty good at everything. But again, their expertise is going to be important. They're always looking for agencies with recognized expertise in particular tactics. And as you will see, this group is more likely to be considering marketing activities we haven't used before. They're more likely to be doing more activities this year as well.
So this idea of looking for specialists, you're going to see really runs throughout the segments. And this is a continuation of a message that we have been getting from clients for the last several years, is that they really are thinking about their agency partner as not just a set of hands to do busy work, but they really want the thought leadership. They really want that guiding sort of understanding of their business as well as marketing. And so in some cases, they're looking for subject matter experts like You Get My Industry or You Get My Audience, or In some cases, they're like, I need an SEO agency, or I need a
Right.
PR shop, or I need a this. So this is not a new attitude, but we are seeing it quite prevalently.
Yeah, it's getting more pronounced, certainly,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
last few years in our studies. When you all get this visualization, because you're going to get exactly what I'm taking you through here, and you're going to be able to do everything that I'm doing. This is the set of attitudes that define this group. These are connected to each other for them, whether they realize it or not. This is the scale that they had to rate all of these items on. Disagree completely as a 1 and agree completely as a 6. And this is the average score that each of these groups gave on these. So you're really getting 2 pieces of information. What attitudes are they holding space for together? And to what extent do they agree with those attitudes? And you can see here, very high, 5.7 out of 6, for example, good agencies are worth the cost. So you're going to see that on all of the segments. Let's look at our second group, which is very different. So this is concerned, and this is the largest group that we've got. 42% of our respondents are in this group. They're having a tough time across a huge range of things. Finding new customers is more difficult than it was prior to 2020. True experts in our space are hard to find among marketing agencies. Finding qualified marketing employees is harder than ever. And then they have this trio of worries that economic conditions are going to create challenges for their organization, that shifts in consumer behavior will create significant challenges, and also shifts in employee expectations will create similar challenges for their organization. So we are seeing a lot of worry on this group.
yep.
And it's the largest.
And you know, when you think about everything that we've all gone through, this is not stunningly surprising, but the concentration of it is noteworthy.
Yeah, yeah. And we see really substantial gaps in agreement here between the concerned group and the other 2. I mean, this is a big gap here that we're seeing. So not only are these things connected for them, but they're a lot more likely to say that they strongly agree with these. All right, third group, and this is a really fascinating one for me, Drew. This is a group that for the first time in I think this is our 8th study, that we have seen a group specifically defined by the fact that they want you nearby, they want to see you in person, they want to see you, feel you, touch you, and it's important to them. So meeting with marketing agencies in person.
We have not seen that ever before in any of our studies. I mean, in fact, in the last couple of years, they were like, yeah, we don't really care where they are. I mean, That was sort of this universal thing of actually what we care about is the specialization. We're perfectly fine if they're 200 miles away from us. So this is the first time this nearby, or I want to see and touch my agency, has shown up.
Yeah.
Which again, I think you have to think about, if a lot of your clients are out of market, how do you honor this in a way that's possible? So is it you're at the trade shows they're at? Is it that you are on site quarterly with them? But clearly what they're talking about is not Zoom meetings.
That's right.
I wonder if some of this is just Zoom fatigue.
That's what I wonder too. I mean, I think that, you made a point when we were talking earlier about this, Drew, about the fact that, it's unrealistic to expect you're going to be headquartered nearby all of your clients from those agencies.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily know that that's a huge problem. This meeting in person thing, I think, could accommodate a lot of that. Maybe they're just Zoom weary, these folks.
Yeah, right. So somebody just said in-person findings is really interesting. It seems counterintuitive given the work style changes from COVID. What do you think is driving this attitude? I do think some of it's Zoom fatigue. I also think that some of it is just a hunger to be connected. I just think people in general are hungry to be connected to other people. We saw this at the Build a Better Agency Summit. People just couldn't get enough of just being around other humans to have meaningful conversations. And so I think some of it is that.
It may be, for sure. The other things that are connected to those attitudes for this group are the belief that these folks say they're pretty good at marketing. They say they could handle their marketing needs in-house if necessary, and they have the in-house expertise they need to achieve their goals. But the key to that is they like to work with multiple agencies that are excellent at something in particular. So here is that sort of expertise thread running through the close segment. They can do a lot of things in-house, but they really value expertise at something in particular. To your point, whether that's a particular platform or a particular tactic, or it is understanding an audience or a geography or an industry or something like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we do this analysis with these 40-some attitudes that we're testing in each study, inevitably, some of them don't end up being responsible for defining an audience like the ones that you've seen. And we call those non-defining attributes. And they are in here just so you can see.
We brainstorm for hours to come up with that. Anyway.
Hours and hours.
Yeah.
How much commonality there is on some of these, and then where there are some differences between the segments. So I was very reassured, Drew, to see my organization is well positioned to achieve our goals in 2021. The concerns are lagging a little bit, but that's still a 4.9 out of 6.
Yeah.
Coordination between agencies and the in-house team typically runs smoothly. We prioritize marketing. Look at this, marketing agencies have more expertise than our in-house staff. I expect 2021 to be a banner year. So there's a lot of commonality on these. This one too, our prospects are making purchase decisions differently than they did before 2020. And I expect a lot of our agencies are using that understanding as they're talking to clients and prospects now about how things have shifted. And then there are some things where we see big differences, especially with respect to the committed versus the other two groups. Marketing agencies could easily be replaced if necessary. The committed are significantly less likely to say that is the case. I prefer working with agencies that have a specific specialization or niche, even if that means they don't do everything we need. This is still agreement, but we see the lagging a little bit here on the committed because they told us if they could, they'd have one agency. That's their preference. Maintaining our level of in-house marketing expertise is a significant concern. We see the concerns dropping up here. Maintaining our in-house marketing staff is a significant concern. And coordination between agencies and our in-house staff makes everything more complicated. Disagreement on the part of the committed, strongest agreement on the part of the concerned, and the closer in here. So this is something to watch when we know these folks are often working with more than one agency.
Right. Well, and we've seen this in previous studies too, Susan, that I choose to work with multiple agencies and I expect them all to be grown-ups and play nice together. And what I don't want to do is babysit and, you know, sort of referee them throwing each other under the bus or trying to steal projects from each other or whatever.
Yeah,
but, you know, so I don't know a lot of agencies who are super excited to work with 5 other, you know, have 5 other foxes in the hen house, but we have to learn how to do this.
And again, if you're the specialist agency, you may not have as many cooks in your kitchen.
Right. That's right.
Okay, we're going to run quickly through some demographics just so you guys see the extent to which this stuff is pervasive. This is age in the respondent, and there is no difference between the segments in terms of age. Okay, so the concerned aren't younger or older, the close aren't either. There's no difference. We've got a variety of titles here from owner all the way down to marketing director or manager. Again, we see all of the segments at all levels, so it's not a title level situation. The vast majority of these folks are a decision maker when it comes to marketing activities, marketing resources, and spending. We have a few in here that are decision makers when it comes to marketing spending, and they're involved in decisions about how budgets are set up. Again, no difference by segment. And this is how long they've worked with agencies. And we see folks from less than a year to more than 30, kind of a nice little bell curve here. Again, no difference by segment. So for all of these things we've talked about, age, title, their role, how long they've been with agencies, you can't spot any of these segments based on those characteristics. There is one that is different between the segments, and that is if the respondent has ever worked in an agency themselves. The committed are significantly less likely, half as likely, in fact, to have worked in an agency themselves than the concerned and the close. And as I'm sure you would agree, Drew, that sometimes makes for a different
Yep.
kind of prospect.
Absolutely. That's right.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I mean, you all know that. I mean, it's a matter of, how much do you have to teach them what it's like to be a good partner, and it does change things dramatically, for sure.
It can change things. Yep. And
And
we
they
see
can
them in all
preach them out
segments.
about pricing and all kinds of things.
But
Yeah.
3 out of the 4 committed have never worked in an agency themselves.
Yeah.
So that is a statistically significant difference. In terms of organization types, we have all types and all segments in all types. B2B, B2C, same thing. Now we do see, and they could choose more than one on this list, we do see the committed statistically more likely to be serving consumers, although lots of folks are doing that. They're just a little more likely to do that. So you really can't tell segment based on whether they're a B2B or B2C. Here is projected revenue. And again, all segments at all levels. Now, you will notice that the committed are statistically more likely, even if it's not a huge shift, to have lower levels of projected revenue. But you've also got committed at very high levels. So be very careful judging clients and prospects based on their revenue level, assuming that it's going to sort of get you into one of these particular segments, because it is unlikely. Same is true for budget. All segments, all levels. We do have 37% of the committed with a budget under $250,000, and that is a significant difference. So just be aware as you look at committed clients or committed prospects, they have some pros and cons, and you could argue that one of the cons is their budget may be on the lower end. It's a little more likely than it is with the other segments, although as you will see shortly, they're still doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so, and this is interesting, in a lot of our studies, the client that or the segment that you read and you go, oh, I want a lot of clients like that. They seem nice and they seem the most appreciative. They're always the ones with the littlest budget. So again, what we are doing in all of our studies is we're not saying any of these segments, groups of clients, are better or worse than others. What we're saying is this helps you know your clients and your prospects and what they need and want, and you have to make business decisions about who you want to go after.
Yeah, and what you're good at, what you want your folks to be doing. Some agencies are real problem solvers, and man, the concerned might see some really great impact from somebody like that. We've seen this data before, and it just every year keeps piling on. It's consistent. How many agencies are these clients working with? 72% of our respondents this year are working with multiple agencies.
Which again, we've seen all along in the last 5 years of easy.
Probably not terribly surprising to you all, but most of these folks have a mix of remote and in-office work going on right now, although we do see percentages that are 100% in-office versus remote. And most of them have a full-time in-house marketing team. 74% have an in-house team full-time, but there is a difference in how big that team is. We see segments distributed across team sizes here, but again, sort of aligning with the budget, we do see our committed a little more likely to have a team on the smaller size, 5 or fewer. But all segments, all budgets, all team sizes, all revenue. Okay, let's talk about what's going on with agencies. So we wanted to know what kind of marketing tactics these folks are pursuing. And we asked them to choose from this list. They could choose as many as they want. And this is in the next year. So this is 2022 anticipated activities. You can see a lot of things going on, topped by online advertising and social media marketing, all the way down to out-of-home advertising, which is hovering around 20% here. But you will also see that the committed are often more likely to say that they're doing a lot of these things. This is search engine optimization here, which is really popping out for the committed for some reason. Social media, online advertising. They have a lot going on for the budget that they've got.
But again, it also could just be a smattering, as we see with small clients. Sometimes they sort of like that shotgun approach and just
Yep,
skew their budget in a lot of different ways. If they, especially if they don't have a good agency that's helping them concentrate their efforts.
that's true. There is no different in segments between in the percentage of work they outsource. We did our study a couple of years ago, I think, Drew, focused on sort of outsourcing and what was
Mhm.
happening with that. And we don't see any differential here by segment in terms of the percentage of work that they're outsourcing. We see everybody sort of across the spectrum. Then we ask them, as we always do, what is important in an agency? What's most important in a marketing agency today? Let me show you and you guys will be able to use this view selector to do this too. So in the gray here, this is all of the respondents, 1,240 something of them. And this is interesting because 2 of the top 3 are things we've seen in the top 3 before. Drew listens to us and
Yep.
understands our business.
Yeah. I
Fresh
mean,
ideas.
again, they're not just looking. I mean, let's face it. They just want somebody to do stuff. They can do it a lot cheaper than at agency billable
Yep.
rates. They really do want, they want our counsel. They want our guidance.
Yep, for sure. The other thing that's really popping up here this year, 100% satisfaction guarantee. So maybe
Yeah,
a
no, we
little,
haven't seen that before, right?
no, not that high.
Yeah,
So
right.
maybe a little sort of anxiety
Yeah.
about things popping
Which,
up there.
which, by the way, we are not advocating.
Yeah,
Not that research is suggesting, but we're not advocating that you offer 100% guarantee. But
right.
be thinking about things that you could reassure I mean, what this is saying is they're nervous, right? And so,
Yeah.
reassuring them that what you're doing is working, or talking about how the work is iterative and you're going to keep going back and looking at results and tweaking, so you just keep getting better. Using some of that kind of language, I think, will be helpful.
Yeah, you need to have a good answer because that question's going to come up for sure.
Yeah. And
by the way,
my bet is it doesn't come up in that kind of language. Like,
no,
I
probably
don't think a
not.
lot of clients say to an agency, I want 100% satisfaction guarantee, but you listen for clues that they are anxious about results, and be sure that you can talk to them about how you're measuring and adjusting and all of that.
Well, and since we know that most agency clients, like most buyers everywhere, are researching you before they actually talk to you,
Yeah.
they may be looking for information about a 100% satisfaction guarantee on your website.
Yeah.
So thinking about how to address that, even if you're not in front of somebody, may be worthwhile. The committed are pickier. They have a higher bar for things. They do not have a significantly higher bar for the satisfaction guarantee. Which is kind of interesting. Again, it's one of the nice things about the committed. They trust us and believe in us and think that good agencies are worth paying for.
Yeah.
But certainly things like listening to us, understanding our business, familiar with current marketing trends, specializes serving our industry. So there are a number of things, and this is only the top half of the list. We're going to look at the bottom half in a minute. You guys are probably looking for cost, and you're going to see that in the next slide. But these were interesting. Like, look how high a reputation as a thought leader in our space, specializes in serving our industry, expert in a particular audience type. So there are some things on here that are at the top of the list that are about that specialization. The bottom of the list is here. And so I'm sorry to see that using research and data and driving recommendations isn't higher. But there are certainly things that are lower on the scale here about like multiple offices and the size of staff. Here's awards received for their work. And that's kind of interesting because we've seen an interest to a certain degree in awards by clients in some previous studies.
Yep, we have, right.
Yep. Here is lowest cost. Okay, lowest cost is 29%. Compare it with some of the percentages that we are seeing up here for some of these things. Everybody's about the same place on these. And this is a nice piece of data, I think. We asked them the extent to which they think they'll rely on agencies over the next 2 years. A third of clients expect to use agencies much more than they do now. Hardly anybody plans to use them less. And only about 31% say they're going to keep it the same. So we've got a sizable group, about 2/3, saying they plan to use agencies more than they are doing right now, and a third of those are significantly more. Good news. But it hasn't been an easy couple of years for these folks. We've asked them if they've lost marketing staff in the last 6 months. 51% have. Look at the difference between the committed and the concerned. Twice as likely to have experienced a loss of marketing staff in the last 6 months on the part of the concerned. They are also very likely to say that those losses were very impactful. Both the concerned and the close say that the people they lost was a big hit, much less likely for the committed, but they're also much less likely to be in this group because there are few of them that say they had staff losses in the last 6 months. So if we look at the folks who have had staff losses, about 470 of our 1,200 respondents, we asked them if they considered using marketing agencies to fill the gaps in work due to staff losses, and virtually all of them have, regardless of segment. If they've considered it, have they done it? Yes, they have. About 85% of them have gone ahead and used agencies to fill gaps in work associated with staff losses. And then we asked if they will continue to use the agencies to do that, even if their staff issue becomes addressed, even if they could handle such work in-house. And 69% of those who have used agencies for this kind of work say they will definitely continue to do that, even if they build up the capabilities in-house in the future, which I think is really interesting, Drew.
Yes, I think so too. Yep.
So it's good news.
I think that's good news for us, at least for the short run. And you know what? This is a cycle we see back and forth, right? You know, when the economy is strong, clients start to beef up their internal agencies, and we start to lose some of that opportunity. And then as things get tighter, you know, the marketing department, the in-house marketing department is an expense. It's not a revenue generator. So they're one of the first ones that go, and the pendulum swings back our way. And so we're just seeing this swing, and now it's, you know, the last several years it had been swinging away from us, and now it's swinging back.
Yep. Of the folks who have not considered, have not had gaps in the last 6 months, we asked them if they would consider agencies. Very strongly likely to do that. And would they consider embedded agency personnel for their agency? 74% of respondents say they would be likely, at least probably or definitely would consider. 40% say they definitely would consider an arrangement in which agency personnel were embedded in their organization on a regular basis. Of course, agencies have trouble staffing these days too, so I don't know how likely that is for a lot of.
But this was a trend pre-COVID. So if any of you guys are podcast listeners, and you know, every summer I go through here are the trends I'm seeing episode or two, and this embedded employee has been a trend for the last couple of years. And I would say of the agencies that we work with, I bet a good 10% of them have embedded employees at their clients' locations, at least part of maybe not 5 days a week, which, by the way, I don't advocate, but that's a different discussion for a different day. But this is a continuation of a trend. So know that this is not necessarily COVID triggered, but it may be that the interest level has been heightened because of post-COVID.
Yeah. We can look, and you will be able to look at this in terms of things like budget level. So here's our 250K people, less likely to consider an embedded, the smallest of our clients in the study from a budget standpoint, least likely to consider someone who is embedded. We could look at it a customer type in terms of B2B, B2C. B2C, less likely to say that they would definitely consider someone embedded. And then the other thing I want to show you as you get this is if you click one of these little buttons and the other buttons light up, that is a statistically reliable difference. So you can look at the little tooltip there that gives you the range. In this case, this 22% could be as low as 17 or as high as 27. But you can also just click on it and see if the other bubbles light up. And if they do, that is a statistically reliable difference between those bubbles that do that do light up. So as you go play with this, you can kind of get an assessment of what's statistically different and maybe what isn't anything to worry about. Before we talk about maybe some implications for these, Drew, are there any other questions coming
No,
in?
I was just going to remind all of you that if you have questions about the data, feel free to just pop right in and ask those questions. But no, Susan, right now.
Okay. So talk a little bit about what you think some of the implications of this are for agencies, if you would, Drew, in terms of sort of what we're seeing right here towards the end of 2021 on sort of this landscape.
Yeah, well, I think this is the first time that we're seeing such a large segment pop out. Normally, they've been a little more evenly distributed, and so I think we have to pay attention to that. That almost half of the agency clients we talk to have some pretty heavy concerns right now, and so I think being very consultative and really being thoughtful about the way we approach clients and the way we focus on how to help them, and honestly, the way we listen and ask questions becomes really important here.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
it was
Susan.
interesting to me how pervasive this group is. I mean, it wasn't just the little guys who are having these concerns. It's not just the B2C folks who are having these concerns. We saw this group really consistently across the whole spectrum. So literally any client or prospect that you're talking to, you got almost a 50-50 chance that they're falling into this group.
Yeah.
And what about the close? I mean, that's an interesting group. They have a lot of acumen in-house. They feel fairly confident about their ability to do things. They like specialists, but to your point, they really want some sort of in-person feeling of a relationship with their agency.
Yeah, again, I think, one of the things that came out of COVID and the economic sort of crunch that COVID created was, A, everybody is a little anxious, but B, I think we are valuing relationships a little bit more. I think we're valuing connection a little more. I think we are also probably holding a lot of things a little closer to our vest. We want everything a little tighter, a little more intimate. And so I think that's what you're seeing here. I would be careful to interpret this correctly. I do not think this means you have to only work with people in your backyard. I think it means that you have to find ways for your clients to feel like you're accessible, and they're asking for FaceTime. So a lot of you have assumed, based on my conversations with agency owners, that especially if you're still remote, a lot of you have assumed that your clients don't want to meet in person, and I think it's time to start asking and to start and offering, hey, we'd like to come out and see you. Are you open to that? So I wouldn't wait for them to ask. I would make the offer.
Yeah, there's really something about presence here, and it's a third of folks. I guess we'll see in future studies whether the pendulum sort of swings back to a little bit more normalcy.
Yeah.
But certainly that's important. Any other questions coming up or anything we should talk about?
Nope, not seeing it.
Okay. So you'll have
you guys, questions for us?
Yep, you'll have an executive summary to look at, and you can always reach out to me or to Drew if you have questions, or if you have any suggestions on what we should be exploring next year, because we're already sort of getting started on what does next year's study look like.
Yeah. But I want to just pause now, and I mean, I know that's a large data dump in 40 minutes. So if you have questions, we certainly are happy to answer them. Otherwise, you're welcome to look at the deck, watch the recording again, play around with the visualization, and then email Susan or I with questions as well. All right, I am not seeing any other questions. So, all right.
Maybe a little bit of your Friday back.
Thanks, oh, wait, hang on. Oh, just a ton of information. Great stuff. Thank you. You bet. Our pleasure. It's fun for us to do every year. So we're glad to do it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming, everybody.